guys, welcome back to Damian Reacts. Merry Christmas Eve. Not quite there yet, but almost there. So today we have 3 very scary true horror stories. Tomorrow I'm going to upload the Christmas ones. I like to upload, I know Mr. Nightmare released Christmas stories too. That'll be released tomorrow, so I'll do 2 Mr. Nightmare videos back-to-back days, but along with other videos, of course. Today this is probably the only video that'll come out, but yeah. Merry Christmas Eve. Hopefully you guys, well, this is the afternoon, so Merry Christmas Eve afternoon. Yeah, whatever. 3 very scary true horror stories. Hopefully you guys don't have any horror stories today or tomorrow or like ever, but hopefully it doesn't fall on a holiday, because you know tomorrow I'll be watching those Christmas stories, which is obviously very unfortunate because that's the last time you want to have a horror story, right? But hopefully you guys are having a good holiday season. Hopefully you guys are spending time with friends and family. I'm currently working as we speak. Right now when this is being released, I'm currently working at work, so that's going to be fantastic. My mom and everyone wants me to be home, but I can't, so is what it is. Starting. Give us a like, and let's get started. 23 minutes, not any specific genre, just three scary stories. So let's get going. This ought to be fun. And I gotta eat dinner soon. Or lunch, I mean. Anthony.
This happened when I was 18. I'm 22 now. I live in San Antonio, Texas. It was my senior year of high school, but this was when COVID just started blowing up, so everything began to shut down, including my school.
Okay.
Though everyone was supposed to be staying home and being in quarantine, my friend group and I were going out more than ever. There wasn't much to do since all the non-essential businesses were closed. But one thing about me, I love urban exploring, or exploring haunted places. To this day, I still do. I'm not one to scare easily. I've had a couple experiences with the homeless, cults, even had a gun pointed at me, but nothing compared to how odd and creepy this one instance I came across while exploring was. Moving forward, around this time, I started talking to a girl who I had a class with in high school.
Okay.
Her name was Clarissa. If it weren't for her matching my alibi of what happened this night, I'm sure none of my friends would have believed me. We were still kind of freshly dating, but I somehow convinced her to explore a wooded natural park at 3 a.m. here in San Antonio.
Fuck
The
that.
park is called O.P. Schnabel. It's relatively nice, safe, and very scenic during the day. But at night,
Has a weird name.
it can be a dangerous place, and police usually roam the entrances to the area at night, keeping people away. In 2016, a 24-year-old woman named Lauren Bump was brutally murdered and stabbed over 20 times. And in 2021, a boy exploring the woods was shot. But Clarissa and I get to the park around 3 a.m. It's super creepy and pitch black.
So you're meaning to tell me that you've heard about people getting literally brutally murdered in this park at nighttime, and then you're going to this park in the middle of the night. And no wonder you're in a horror story. No wonder.
The trees
Stupid.
do a really good job at covering the moonlight. I don't like to have my flashlight on because then my eyes can't adjust to the darkness, and you can really only see what's lit up from the light. Plus, I wouldn't want someone to see my light from a far distance, so I like to keep them off while exploring.
I
We're
guess. Is that
probably
safe though?
about 15 to 20 minutes in walking the main trail. I didn't plan to be in there for too long because it was kind of creepy and oddly quiet that night.
No, really?
I knew a trail that goes off the road that leads back to where my truck was parked. I told her we could take that trail, essentially making a full circle, instead of walking all the way back around. She agreed, and so we began walking through that off-road trail. We were probably only about 2 minutes into the off-road trail, when suddenly, out of nowhere, a flute began playing. Clarissa and I stopped dead in our tracks and looked at each other, just listening. Whoever was playing it, it was super in cadence and sounded like it was playing some sort of piece of music. However, there was no time for me to process that it may have sounded good. It was creepy as fuck.
Yeah, that's true.
As I said before, I don't scare easily, but 15 seconds into the flute solo, Clarissa began trembling in fear and on the brink of crying.
Well, yeah.
I was kind of just listening, but when Clarissa...
3 a.m. It's like a flute playing. It's like I was watching a different horror story video from Mr. Nightmare like a few days ago, and yeah, I basically saw, like, I was outside shoveling snow, right, because it was all snowy. It wasn't a lot of snow by any means. It didn't take long to shovel at all, but anyways, I shoveled, and it was like 2 in the morning or 1:30 in the morning, and then obviously it was dead silent on a Friday night, and yeah, it was dead. So, it was just so eerily quiet, and which I expected of it. Obviously, I didn't expect party vibes, although it was a Friday night, so you know what. But anyways, on a side street, it wouldn't be party vibes. So yeah, I'm just shoveling the snow, and then like nothing happened. It was just so eerily quiet and like so like suspenseful sort of thing. Like even going to the backyard to get the shovel, I was kind of like, you know what I mean? I was just so nervous, like.
Clarissa started praying to God to save her and forgive her for her sins. That's when I realized the severity of the situation. To be clear, it was super hard to pinpoint where the sound of the flute was coming from. It sounded like it was coming from the direction of the previous main trail, which was parallel to where we were, with about maybe 30 to 50 yards of woods in between. But it was getting louder and closer, to the point where it sounded like the sound was right on top of us. Clarissa couldn't even focus because she was so scared, so I knew I had to man up and get us out of this situation. This is gonna sound corny, but I told her, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna let anything happen to you." I told her that we should run down the off-road trail to get away.
That's like a normal thing a guy says. That's what all guys usually say.
We began to sprint. I believe the flute stopped playing, but it was hard to notice because I was more focused on getting the hell out of there. We only got about 30 feet when out of nowhere, we heard the rustling of bushes and the snapping of leaves and twigs before something big dashed across the trail right in front of us. Now this could have very well been a deer or some sort of bigger wildlife, but it was so strange because I could almost feel the size of whatever was in front of us.
Plus, animals wouldn't be playing the flute. There's a human in there, 100%.
I don't know if it was from the wind or what. The only thing is, I never saw a silhouette or a shape of anything in front of us. Another strange thing is, I didn't hear it coming and I didn't hear it run away. I only heard the dash right when it was right in front of us. As soon as we felt and heard whatever dashed across the trail right in front of us, we obviously turned back around and bolted in the other direction until we got back to the original point where we heard the flute. And
It's a
then,
ghost.
as if whoever was playing it was waiting for us to return, the flute started to play again, loud and right on top of us.
Oh my god.
This time it was almost chiming. It sounded like it belonged to some sort of Irish jig song or something, but the chiming was still in cadence. However, it was still impossible to pinpoint where the sound was coming from. It was just surrounding us. At this point, my fight or flight instincts kicked in because we were trapped. We had two options. Either go back into the off-road trail where we heard that terrifying dash right in front of us, or go back to the main trail where the flute and whatever psychopath was playing it was at. The off-road trail was definitely scarier because it was darker and surrounded by more dense forest, and at least the main trail was a cement path. Thus, I told Clarissa, who was still trembling in fear, let's start running down the main trail back to the truck. We ran back. Adrenaline was still pumping, so we cut the 20-minute walk into a 7 to 8 minute jog. And somewhere along the run, the flute noise must have stopped. Along the run back, there was a random porta potty, and I was scared to death because what if someone was on the other side or hiding inside of it, because it seemed to be somewhat parallel to where we were at earlier. Thankfully, I didn't see anyone, or signs of anyone ever having been there. In fact, my truck was the only vehicle in the area near the main entrance to the woods. We made it to the truck, and I sped far away from there. The next day, I told all my friends about it, and I looked all over the internet to see if anyone's ever come across anything like this. People claim to run into ghosts, cults, animals making terrifying noises, but a soft and rhythmic flute solo, I couldn't find anything on that. Or maybe I just didn't look hard enough. I tried to figure out all the possibilities. There are some houses that eventually led into a neighborhood on the far edge of the woods, but
Like, it's creepy how, like, this looks so nice in the daytime. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sun and, like, the little bits of shade. And it's just so nice. Trees, forests, parks. At nighttime, this is fucking devil woods, bro.
those houses are at least a couple miles away, and we were fairly deep into the woods, so there's no way the sound could have traveled that far, because I'm telling you, the flute was clear as day, and it was 3 a.m. Obviously, I never found out who was playing that flute, or what dashed right in front of us.
Ghost.
I actually kind of got chills writing the story. The more I think about it, it actually seems more paranormal, rather than something scary on a tangible level. I don't know if it was a person, ghost, cult, or what. I'm really hoping someone might have a rational explanation. Either way, I never really went back to those woods at night. I still explored plenty of creepy places, but never really came across anything like that ever again.
And you still explore creepy places, bro, you're fucked. Carson. So Anthony's fucked. Let's see if Carson's fucked.
I'm a 20-year-old guy. I work at a medium-sized hospital in northwest Alabama as a pharmacy technician.
Okay.
I work an early night shift, 6 p.m.
That's a pretty good job, though. Like 20 years old, and then you're already. That's pretty good.
to 4 a.m. I'm also in charge of stocking the surgery rooms. I work for 7 days in a row, and then I have 7 days off.
Oh.
Working the 7 sucks, but the 7 off feels amazing. I work Thursday through Wednesday, and on my 6th night working, a Tuesday, I left a little early to go stay with my wife at her aunt's house, about 30 minutes away from our house. She was...
I don't know how I feel about that. Working, I mean, it's 10 to 4, he said, which is 6 hours. So it's not like it's 8-hour shifts. But I feel like I'd rather do like 3 or 4 or 5 8-hour shifts and then be off for 2. But then obviously having the 7 off is amazing. So if you get through that week, but I like doing that every week though, like, or every other week, it's just so hard, you know? I don't know.
babysitting her little cousins while her aunt and uncle were on a trip. The house didn't have any curtains, so she felt uneasy for the few nights she was there. I didn't go with her at first because it was during my work week, and she told me there was really no point if I was going to get there around 5 a.m. and then go to sleep once the sun started to rise. But on her last night babysitting, she felt extremely anxious, so I told her I was coming over. She is stubborn, but she thanked me and felt so much better once I arrived. Working the night shift for the last 2 years has really taken a toll on me mentally, and I think I've started to develop some slight insomnia. I literally could not go to sleep after getting to my wife's aunt's house. This isn't anything new, but I had never stayed up for more than about 28 hours before. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't sleep because we had a really big day ahead of us. We had to drop her little cousins off at school, our friend was having a gender reveal party, we had to go shopping because we had no groceries at home since she had been away for the last 3 days, and I had to be at work at 6 p.m. I ended up falling asleep in the car for a little less than 10 minutes. I was really feeling that wave of sleepiness come over me, but I ended up getting a huge Red Bull and another energy drink once I got to work. I had my wife drive me to work and pick me up since my brakes needed to be changed and I wasn't driving my car, and also because neither of us trusted myself to drive her car on over 24 hours of no sleep.
Yeah.
It was Wednesday night now, and I had been awake since about 2 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon. My shift started out fine. If I could stay busy, that
Tuesday, 2 p.m. until Wednesday night? Ugh.
a tired feeling wouldn't really get to me. I put in my earbuds and was listening to music as I was stocking the surgery rooms with their meds. It was a weeknight, so there were still some late surgeries finishing up, and housekeeping was cleaning up some operating rooms that had been used. It's not uncommon for surgery personnel to come into the room I was in and grab something that the room they were using may be out of, so I usually turn around and at least smile, and they smile back. I was in my own little world, stocking the Omnicell machine with meds and listening to music, when I heard the door behind me open. There was that distinct high-pitched squeal when a door needs its hinges to be oiled.
Yeah.
It made the loud crash that heavy wooden doors make when they shut, so I turned around to see who it was, like always, except there was no one there. I didn't really get worried about it. Maybe they opened the door and saw I was in there and just decided to go to another room.
That's true.
So I continued on. As I pushed my car
I mean, that is the most logical explanation. It's like, yeah, someone probably just was going to come in but then didn't.
to the next room, the light in this room was off. I opened the door, and I swear, I saw someone hunched over by the Omnicell machine, digging through the sharps bin. If you don't know what that is, it's a bin where you dispose of needles and vials after use, instead of just putting them in a normal garbage can.
Yeah, make it safe.
Someone had already been caught doing this before in search of morphine, and consequently was fired. I turned on the light, and was going to ask what they were doing, but when I turned the light on, there was no one there. Okay, now I was starting to get a little creeped out. I didn't know the time frame of when you could start hallucinating after not sleeping for over 24 hours, so I just told myself I was probably seeing things and needed to just calm down.
No, that's also a logical explanation.
Finished up stocking surgery with no other occurrences and headed back to the pharmacy. At 2 a.m. every night, we have to deliver patient-specific medications to the nurses' station. I'm going to use the 5th floor as an example of how the floors are laid out, but each floor number corresponds with which floor they were on. There are 3 elevators in the middle of the floor. If you go left when getting off the elevator, there's the 5100 and 5200 side, and if you go to the right, there's the 5400 and 5500 side. There are 2 wings on each side, so there are patient rooms numbered 5105 to 5115, and and the other wing has rooms 5201 to 5215. Each floor is laid out the exact same way, so each wing has 15 rooms on each side. To shorten the floor names, though, I'm going to refer to them as 51, 52, and 54, 55. Recently, the fifth floor, specifically the 54-55 side, had been undergoing some remodeling, so our overflow floor, the third floor, was where they put the patients who were on the 54-55 side of the fifth floor while they remodeled. The
Okay.
54-55 side was empty because there weren't that
He's saying so many numbers. 54, 50. Fuck.
many people in the hospital that night. I made my way up the hospital, delivering meds to the nurses' station floor by floor, until I got to the fifth floor. I went to the 51-52 side, delivered the meds, and decided to go check out the progress of the 54-55 side. As I went over there, I just got creeped out. There were no nurses, no patients, just the long, empty hallways. The surgery rooms are already empty and desolate most nights, so I'm used to walking around down there no problem. But seeing empty patient rooms just creeped me out. I walked slowly down the 55 side. I heard a noise that sounded like one of the hospital beds rattling. As I passed 5512, I quickly found out what the noise was. As I looked into the rooms, I saw an old man violently shaking as if he was having a seizure. Blood was running down his eyes, nose, and out of his mouth. He was making this gargling, groaning sound, almost like the sounds the zombies in The Walking Dead make. A monitor was frantically beeping like it does when a patient is coding. My heart dropped when I saw this, and I took a quick step behind the door frame. I immediately stepped back into the room as I realized this man was in desperate need of medical attention. But when I looked back in there was no man. This bed was clean and made. The monitor was off, and there were no signs that anyone had even been in that room for at least a whole day.
Oh my god. Okay, that is so fun. Okay, either you're hallucinating really bad and you really gotta sleep because your brain is gonna play tricks on you, then you're gonna respond to something that isn't there, or there's some really, really, really paranormal stuff going on in that hospital right now.
I thought at that point I was for sure hallucinating. I quickly made my way back over to the elevators, and I made my way back down to the first floor where the pharmacy is. As the elevator doors opened, an old man in a security shirt and hospital badge got on the elevator. He patted my shoulder as he walked past me. It was that same man I had seen moments before, having a seizure and making those zombie-like noises. He smiled at me as the doors closed, and I watched the numbers on the elevator go all the way up to the 5th floor. I didn't push the button for the elevator to come back down, but the same elevator came back down to the 1st floor and opened. There was no one on the elevator. I ran back to the pharmacy and sat in a chair for the rest of my shift until my wife came and picked me up. As I was waiting, I googled when hallucinations start when you haven't slept. It said between 30 and 48 hours, and I was on hour 38 of no sleep, so it made sense. The pharmacy is located directly under the 54-55 side, so when I walk in, I can see the window at the end of the hospital wing on the 24, 34, 44, and 54 side. Sometimes as I wait on the elevator on that side to go back down to the pharmacy, I look out the window. As I was walking out to my wife's car, I looked back up at the 5th floor window and saw the same old man looking at me through the window. I got chills as I got into my wife's car. I didn't say anything about what I saw that night. I'm not sure why I would have hallucinated that specific man, as I've never seen him before, and even if I have, he has no significance in my life whatsoever. I'm still not sure, though, if that was even a hallucination, or if what I saw that night was real. It certainly felt real. I went to sleep immediately after getting home. I've not seen that man again, but this was just under 2 weeks ago.
That was definitely an interesting one. I don't really know what to make out of that one. Like, you definitely could be hallucinating, but because of the no sleep, obviously, part, but it's like, how do you, like, it's the security guard. He smiles as you walk in, or as you leave, and then the door's closed, he smiles at you, and then you see him looking in the window. I don't know, it's so creepy, like, but then you just saw him in that room, like, bleeding from his eyes, and like, what the fuck, like, I don't know what to make of that one. Story 2 remains a mystery, but I feel like it's just hallucinations. Which would make sense, of course. Michelle.
I live with my boyfriend in his house that he owns. It's a modest house in a good neighborhood. Violent crime here is typically low.
Okay.
I say it's a modest house because compared to the other houses in the neighborhood, it's on the smaller side. But having a smaller house in this neighborhood is still very desirable because it allows us to still live in a nice town without owning a multi-million-dollar home. It's a single-floor, 3-bed and 2-bathroom house with a basement. We're on a very quiet block with a lot of privacy. The way the street curves provides us optimal privacy, as when we step outside of the house, there's not a single neighboring house directly facing us. There are 8 houses total on our block. Further down the block is a small wooded area. My boyfriend Mika was away one weekend in Vegas for a bachelor party last October. I was alone from Thursday to Monday. Friday after work, I had some of my girls over for a wine night. At some point while we were in the living room watching scary movies, the doorbell rang. We all went quiet and looked at one another with the same faces. The doorbell ringing late at night while watching a scary movie almost felt not real.
Yeah.
I went to go sneakily see if I could see who was outside on the porch, but I couldn't get a view from the window. There is a tiny glass panel at the top of the door, so I peeked through it. There were like 4 cars in the driveway. They had to know people were home, but I didn't see anyone on the porch. I went back to my friends, and while we all agreed that was weird,
Bugs.
there were like 4 cars in the driveway. They had
Picking up a
to
little
be
bit
outside
more.
on the porch, but I couldn't get a view from the window. There is a tiny glass panel at the top of the door, so I peeked through it. There were like 4 cars in the driveway. They had to know people were home, but I didn't see anyone on the porch. I went back to my friends, and while we all agreed that was weird, we accepted that it was just a very unfortunately timed ding-dong ditch. After everyone left, it was late enough for me to go to bed and fall asleep right away. But I was awoken that night, not even an hour later, to the doorbell ringing twice. I looked at my phone and it was like 1 a.m. No one belongs outside your door at this hour. I immediately called Mika, and he picked up, sounding really drunk in a loud bar. He had to go to a bathroom to be able to hear me. Once he heard me, he told me to just stay in the bedroom and not open the door to anyone. He never once suggested calling the police, so I refrained from doing that for now. We ended our call, and I...
Well, yeah, like, I mean, that's the thing. You don't want to over-exaggerate and be like, oh my god, now one, there's someone at my door. Okay, are they doing anything? No? Well, what do you want me to do then? Like, police can always come and investigate, just drive by the area, but if like calling 911 for someone ringing your doorbell isn't really, like, you don't know who it is. Like, it could be your neighbor, it could be anybody. Realistically, it could be anybody. So police just yet? No.
Tried to just stay calm and go back to sleep. Just as my heart rate started to slow and I started to calm down, I heard something from outside. Some kind of clicking sounds, until there was a knock at my window. And a male's voice said, "Hey, anyone home? I need some help out here." I thanked the Lord the blinds were closed. I couldn't see who was out there, and they couldn't see me. Instead of leaving, he knocked again on the window. He said, "I know you're home."
Oh, God. I know you're in there. My God. Bro, like, I know that they have a 1-floor house, which they did mention, so it's not like he's on the 2nd floor like I am right now, but it's still, that's definitely shaky. It's like, anyone home? I need some help out here. No, that's to lure you outside. If you need help, I'll call the police for you. Now we can call the police. Okay, someone outside my window, it's 1 a.m., and they want me to help them, and they want help, so can you come help them? Because I'm not doing that at this time. That's what I would say. Or I would say, yeah, great, I'll call the police and to help you. Then I'll see what they say. They'll say, no, because they don't want the police. They want to rob you or kill you. So they're trying to lure you outside. 100% they're trying to lure your ass outside. 100,000,000%.
What prompted me to call the police? I never heard the man outside walk away from the window. For all I knew, he was still standing outside of it. So I whispered the entire time while on the phone, reporting someone trying to break into my house. Call me dramatic or an embellisher, but I was scared and I wanted the police here ASAP. Within 5 to 10 minutes, the doorbell rang again, followed by loud knocks. I went out and approached the front door and asked who it is. A male's voice said, "It's the police." It was a different voice from the other guy. I looked through the glass and confirmed it was a couple police officers. I opened the door for them, and right off the bat, the taller officer in front walked right into my house without my even inviting him in. He said they were responding to my report of a disturbance, and I said there's a man lurking around the house, ringing the bell and knocking on my window. I don't want to make a big part of my recounting this story about this particular police officer, but he was the rudest man I'd ever met. I felt like he was on a power trip. He was demeaning towards me, telling me to shush and talking over me while I was trying to explain. He also didn't seem to take my claims very seriously. His partner didn't say a word, he just stood in the back. The taller one asked me details that I'd already made clear I wouldn't have, such as what the man looked like, when I clearly stated that I hadn't seen him. And the officer actually said to me, "Well, you're the one who called us, ma'am. If you don't want our help, we can leave."
Damn. Is that a real cop? Or, I don't know if that's actually the police. Is that the police? I mean, you said that you confirmed you were cops, right? And obviously you can tell if it's a fake cop or not. It's very, very clear if they're real cops or not. They have everything on them. Like a badge, they have, like, I know some officers in Canada have, like, a Canadian flag. I don't know about the States. I don't know if you guys have the American flag on your police vests or not, but you can usually tell if it's a real cop. So, if it's a real cop, yeah, this guy seems like a jackass. Some cops are really nice though. Like, that's the thing about even security guards. One guard might be bad, and one guard might be amazing. One cop might be horrible. One cop might be amazing, right? Like, we've had experiences with pretty good cops, right? I've never had experiences with any bad cops, but I haven't had experience with cops really in general. So
I was taken aback completely. I'd never called the police before, and I never expected such a lack of professionalism. I apologized and said I'm just scared. It was around this time that the two officers walked around the house with their flashlights. They went full circle and then came back, but honestly, they didn't really check very thoroughly. I watched them through the windows. They came back to the door and told me there's nothing they can do if I don't have any cameras or proof of the man trying to commit any wrongdoing. The two cops then left. I didn't feel any better at all, besides the fact that maybe whoever that man was saw I called the police. I went back to bed, and thankfully the next time I woke up was to sunlight creeping in through the closed blinds. It was around 10 a.m. It was Saturday, and that night...
the story's not over yet though. There's still like 2.5 minutes left. Ooh, okay, this is getting exciting now. Let's see what happens next.
my friend was having a Halloween party that I was going to help set up for. During the day, I did a little grocery shopping, and while I was at it, picked up some things for the party. My costume was Velma from Scooby-Doo, and my friend throwing the party was Daphne. I got to her house around 6 p.m. The party started at 9, and it really picked up around 10:30. I was there pretty late. Like, I probably left her house a little after 1 a.m. I was good to drive, as I didn't really drink much besides a few beers. When I got home, I immediately noticed a cool draft in the house. After setting my things down on the dining room table, I noticed a window open. I went to shut it, trying to remember why I would have opened it. I went to brush my teeth. Then when I came out from the bathroom, I noticed the basement door was wide open. I froze. This was when I started hearing this faint but consistent clicking sound. As I got closer to the basement stairs, I realized it was coming from down there. And then I got to the top of the stairs, and I looked down to the pitch black basement, and the clicking suddenly stopped. A voice from below suddenly said, "You're finally home."
Oh fuck. Oh my god, that's terrifying. Oh my god. Oh. I gotta watch that again. Goosebumps.
A voice from below suddenly said, "You're finally home." With that, I slammed the basement door shut and took my phone with me outside. I banged on the neighbor's door until he answered, and I chose to call the police in the safety of my neighbor's house. It was unfortunately the same two officers who returned to my house. My neighbor accompanied me as I went to speak with them this time, and I think that may have had some kind of impact on that taller cop's attitude. He wasn't as rude this time. He and his partner checked the house while my neighbor and I stood in the living room. Eventually, after their initial search, I showed them some of the spots I'd imagined someone could be hiding. I basically tore the entire house upside down, while also on the phone with my drunk boyfriend. When I was sure that no one was here anymore, I packed a bag to go stay with my sister until Mika came back. This time I locked every window before leaving. The main takeaway lesson from my
This time I didn't lock every window to begin with.
story is if you have windows that open wide enough for someone to crawl through, make sure they're always locked when they're closed. We still live in this house today, but for a few months I refused to be alone in the house for extended periods. I still have PTSD from this, And sometimes I have nightmares in which I think I'm hearing knocks at the window, and then I wake up.
That is honestly really scary though. Like, it's like for me, it's like it's easy to listen to the horror story. Like you're in the comfort of your own home, you're chilling, you're vibing. You know, you got a blanket around you, you got your Christmas sweater on. You don't give a fuck. You're just watching a video, whatever. It's not that scary. Like if you're imagining yourself in that scenario itself, that's fucking terrifying. Cause like we can, again, I can always just think, yeah, it's fine. It's just a horror story, whatever. Like, you know, because it is. Like, I'm not experiencing any horror. Being in that scenario actually is like a lot different, right? So, like, I still remember when I was like, I was fucking shitting bricks at this time, and it was like 12 a.m. in the summertime. And it was obviously 12 a.m., so it was dark outside, obviously. And I was sending voice messages to my sister, and you know, I was sending voice messages, and I don't even remember exactly what happened here, but I was sending voice messages, and I was like walking up and down the driveway and on the sidewalk, or not the sidewalk, but just walking basically from my driveway all the way to my backyard, back to the front, back to the back, just like pacing while sending a voice message, because that's typically what I do when I send voice messages. I just pace. Typically, that's just me. That's just what I do, and that's always what I've done. So I just started pacing. And as I'm pacing, I was near the sidewalk, going towards the driveway, and then some random guy comes walking from the backyard. I just stopped in my tracks, and I was like, still recording, and I'm just like, and then he just says something to me. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I sent a voice message, and I was still recording this whole interaction with my phone because I was already recording. I kept recording it, and I don't even remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure he was like, yeah, sorry, wrong trip. And I was like, oh, okay. Then he just walks away, walks down the street, and then disappears. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was shitting bricks, bro. Like, you just don't expect. I was walking up and down like a couple times, I'm pretty sure, and then a random man comes out of nowhere. Like, where the fuck was he? God. Anyways, that was scary. That's probably one of the, like, nothing happened obviously, but that's just like seeing a random person come out, like, cause like basically we have a light sensor, like we have a light and then it's censored, so anytime someone walks by it turns on. So the light turned on typically when I did too, right? Because I would be, I don't know if I was walking down the whole driveway to the backyard or if I was just like walking from my front porch stairs to the sidewalk, which isn't anywhere near the back. Because I'm pretty sure I was on the sidewalk and I see the light go off, and I was like, probably an animal or a fly can activate that light. And then I just see a whole human, and I was like, that's not a fly. What the fuck? So yeah, I was terrified, bro. Comments. Happy Halloween. Oh, this was released on Halloween. Okay. Merry Christmas. Since I'm releasing this for Christmas Eve. That Flute Soul was a banger. Honestly, it was really good, not gonna lie. The couple in the first story would absolutely be the first to die in a horror movie. Yeah, let's take a romantic walk through the woods at 3 a.m. where a woman was stabbed 20 times and a boy was shot to death. What could possibly happen? Thank you. Someone has some logic. Thank you, Valor06. Someone has some common sense. The rude police officer is as bad as the scary guy in the third story is scary to feel unprotected and unheard, truly on your own. No curtains on a house is wild, cannot even comprehend not having the ability to shut out the outside when it needs to be. Exactly. Like, you guys see this shit? Big ass curtain, always been there. There's no curtain over there for the tiny window, so I basically have like my bookshelf there. There's no books on it, but a shelf there, and then it blocks the whole window so you can't see inside at all. Plus we're on the second floor anyways, so, but still, just nicer to have the curtains. Nice to have something closing the thing. That park is 100% known for being haunted in cults. I believe that story completely. I used to walk there when the sun would go down. You constantly feel watched. I'll never go back there. Nothing hits more than Mr. Nightmare on Halloween. It's his day. The guy within the middle of nowhere with his girlfriend and hearing the flute, I couldn't help to bust out laughing at the part where he said he only needs to man up, only to run off in a panic with his girlfriend in tow. I mean, I do the same thing. I'd be like, don't worry, I'll protect you. Two seconds later, boot it. I have 1 minute left of storage, so I'm going to end this here. I can't stop laughing. The disconnect between your description and how scared they are and how goofy the actual sound is just something else. Anyways guys, yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, comment down below, and be sure to subscribe. This is probably going to be the only video for today, for Christmas Eve. Tomorrow I will try to upload 3 to 4, at least 2 or 3, but hopefully I'll do 3 to 4, it'll just depend. I always love uploading on Christmas for you guys, so I'll try doing just that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, Merry Christmas Eve. Hopefully you guys are having fun, hopefully you guys are having some family time, and hopefully you guys have a good holiday season. I'll see you guys in the next video. Be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys later. Deuces, peace.